am.
Got it.
Right.
Get it. All right. What's up? What's up, Facebook? Went on. Lisa and I are back because this was super fun last time. So we figured why not do it again? And there was a whole bunch. Oh, actually, I'll make sure I open the Facebook page. There was a whole bunch of interaction. This is live on your page, right?
Yes, on my page.
On the Akashic Knowing page. Okay, let me go to that so
Yep.
I can keep an eye on comments and questions as they come in, because y'all were crazy cool and interactive last time. Yeah, we got 2 people watching. What's going on? So Lisa and I just spent like 20, 25 minutes catching up and talked about a whole bunch of stuff. But we really wanted to touch on star seeds today and how to know if you're a star seed, ways to express yourself as a star seed, all of it. So why don't we start, Lisa? Just give us a quick rundown of, what is a star seed? How would somebody know if they were one, etc.?
Absolutely. So it is fascinating because, of course, I do tons of Akashic record readings and healing sessions one-on-one for clients. And I love getting live here on Facebook so that we can do some group healing, because it is really helpful when we can come together and as a collective unwrite, unwind, release, delete all these old energies. So one of the things that I've noticed a lot is that when clients come to me, they often say, am I an old soul, and where am I from? Meaning, what planet am I from? Am I old? Am I a star seed? Kind of like, what's up with all those things? And so I thought this would be a great place. Let's have a chat about star seeds, because what I get in the Akashic Records is that we are all star seeds. When we individuate from source, in the very beginning, which could be billions or trillions of years ago, who knows, right? No time, space out there. When we individuate from source, we do a lot of different things. And I believe that many of us are, rolling around the heavens all day, really being creator beings, doing some very cool and fascinating projects out in the galaxies. And many of us, touch down in different planets or dimensions. So I would say that many of us have lived in places like the Pleiades or Sirius, right? The dog star, the Pleiades, often called the Seven Sisters, and many kind of planets, Arcturus. I was just actually connecting really strongly with Lyra and Andromeda, which is a whole nother galaxy, right? And so what the record keepers talk about is that one of the reasons that we as humans like to understand kind of a galactic origin, or if we're star seeds, where are we from? It's because often there is a message in that information, right? So if you are from, say, Arcturus is fascinating because I'll go back a few steps. When I was first asked by the Akashic record keepers to start a school, I, of course, said, why me? And they said, because you were one of us, so you connect very well to us. And I said, okay, well, that's very cool. Thanks for that info. And they said, and also, you are very galactic, right? They didn't use the word starseed back then. I don't know when starseed got coined, but I don't think it was common 25 or more years ago. So they used to just say, you're very galactic. And I would say, what does that mean? What? And of course, think like, oh, great, another craziness, thanks. But what they said that meant was that I had lived in a lot of different places, planes, and dimensions, that I had traveled through the galaxies, right? Just totally reminded me of Star Trek because, that's what I grew up on, that TV show, the original Star Trek TV show. And I always think that guy must have been an amazing galactic traveler himself. So what the record keepers asked me to do, and of course gave me, is 6 different Akashic access prayers, right? So I teach my students to open the Akashic records by using a vibrational key, which is an access prayer. Okay, so it's a prayer that you can say that opens the door into the Akash. So a few months ago, they had said, oh, it's time for you to download 2 more access prayers. And I've been kind of waiting around for them to show up. And they did actually show up last week. So the Lyran prayer and the Andromedan prayer. And so it's an interesting process of channeling things, downloading information, because it's very much about, timing, divine timing. And so often when we push to make something happen, it doesn't happen. But if we can be open to wait, to honor that information that it's coming, and we can not stress about the when's it getting here, then it's much easier to allow information to come really to and through you. So again, that's of course a little kind of teaching unit aside, because just being a teacher, I can't help it. So when we can really wait to receive, it's so much easier for us. But basically, the record keepers have been talking about how we're all star seeds and we all have just a variety of different missions. And part of that is because not only have we lived on one planet, plane, world, whatever, but most of us have lived in many. So
what's like so cool that you say that is like last time we did a live together, you mentioned that when you go to sleep and you wake up, you feel like you haven't slept, you might have gone to a lower astral realm and you just feel really drained. And ever since then, I think it was like right after then I went to sleep one night and woke up like 7 or 8 hours later and just felt like depleted. And I was like, interesting, maybe I went to a lower astral realm. And so since I've been going to bed every night since then, I've been going to bed. And before I fall asleep, I say, okay, I'm going to fall asleep. During the sleep, please keep my astral. Because I know when we did, if you haven't done a one-on-one reading with Lisa, I don't even know if she has time for them, but I would really recommend do it while you can. Because when I did my first one-on-one reading with Lisa, you mentioned that I'd spent a lot of time in the angelic realm. Right. And that was sort of home for me. And even it was funny when I was in Vegas last time, I went with a friend of mine to shoot guns. And it was the first time I'd ever shot a gun. I went to the gun range. Like I grew up in Canada, right? So we had no gun culture. But it was the first time I'd ever shot a gun. So we went to the gun range and every fiber of my being was like, it was all right. Like, would I ever do it again? No, like it was every fiber of my being was like, this is so not you. Like, you don't belong with these instruments. You don't belong with these noises. This is like so different than what you're supposed to be about. But every night since I've been going to bed, I just say, okay, I'm going to fall asleep. During the sleep, can you please keep like my astral and physical body in the angelic realm or around it? And I've been having way better sleeps and my dreams have been different.
Right.
I have different dreams and whatnot. So I love that you mentioned just the different dimensions and where we've lived and all of that, because I think, again, if you haven't done a one-on-one reading with Lisa, I recommend you go to her. I'll put her site. There is, okay. So one of the links, the infinite wisdom questioning link that you sent me, that one is page doesn't exist. we're doing this live, but this is real time. And then I just put Lisa's website in the comments, AkashicKnowing.com. You can look at her one-on-one stuff there, as well as her group and her courses and everything. But yeah, no, that's cool that you say that are the different locations, because I think that's really, really relevant. And I don't know, like even you've told this story a lot, where when you were 3 years old, you said to your mom, I want to go home. She said, you're home. You're like, no, I want to go home. Right. Yeah. Like you knew, like,
I don't want to be on this planet. It's too dense.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, so I love that you're mentioning the different realms where we spent time, and how that's relevant now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think it's really helpful for us to all understand that we're just so much more than we think we are, than this little, human body, than this experience, than this life, right? If I at 3 could remember not being embodied, being in other realms or other dimensions, I could remember communicating without words with the 2 souls I was hanging out with. And when we can have some kind of, it's wonderful to have some kind of energetic experience. I think that just shifts our mindset from believing that we're these little humans to realizing that we really truly are multidimensional beings of light, that we truly are these amazing, huge souls, right? But so for many of us, it's useful to keep our body and our astral body protected as we're sleeping, so that we're not in lower realms and getting drained, but that we have the ability to kind of hang out in these higher, beautiful, angelic realms, or other higher realms. And so they can be very, very helpful. I have a, let me just see if I can pull up a free gift of my rainbow shield meditation, because that's a great one for staying protected, right? The record keeper said to me years ago,
Yeah, I got that. Yeah, I got that from you. And honestly, like when I remember to do it, I notice a difference every time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really good one, because let me give this to you, and you can put them in the Facebook book chat. But too bad. I'm like, oh, never mind. I am really having one of those kinds of days. You ever have those days where you're like, I thought I copied that. What happened? Hold on. One more time.
Dude, I don't know. It's I really, we were saying we have a full moon coming up tomorrow too. I always get a little wonky around the full moon. Something
right.
Dry.
Tonight. I think it's tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there it is. I just gave you Rainbow Shield. So anybody who wants more protection, I always suggest, or the record keeper suggests, that we do it before we go to bed, so that we're energetically and physically protected from any of the lower energies or vibrations. But let me talk a little bit about some of these different places, planes, and dimensions that some of us are from. And it's interesting because I've noticed that I have a lot more clients that have an Arcturian background and now than before. People seem to come through in waves. I think it's really interesting. But the story with the Arcturians, that the record keepers give me kind of just simple stories that makes sense to people and in what they're kind of looking for. Like, how is that associated with who I am or why I'm here now? Right. There's people who channel whole books about these things. So I'm doing the short version for you today. So many of the Arcturians, the interesting thing about Arcturus, they say, is that it was one of those planets that was very involved in the galactic wars. So there have been galactic wars out there for a very long time.
Mm.
And the Arcturians were big warriors. And so there was time where they were warriors. Then there was a time where they decided they weren't going to fight these wars anymore. And they kind of walled off their world and went from war into a state of peace, which is a huge step. If you just imagine, we on Earth have not made it to peace yet. We still are warring humans, right? So the Arcturians went from war to peace and eventually to awakening, to enlightenment. And so many of the souls who have had that pattern in other lives on Arcturus are here on Earth right now to help us go from war to peace and eventually into awakening, into enlightenment. And so it's kind of interesting that there are so many of the Arcturians who are kind of waking up and showing up. And I think what happens is we go often in waves when the energy is ready for us to say, awaken more, ascend more, as we're doing. Those people who are here to assist in that will get more conscious. They will wake up. They may have been sleeping until this year or last year, right? I've noticed a lot of people just all of a sudden waking up. Have you noticed that in people you talk to, Ella? Do you?
I think the people that, it's always been so interesting. Even in my business, I tend to attract quite a few spiritual people who have spiritual businesses. And I swear it's because like the universe is like, heal yourself, bitch. So I think I
do it now.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, and like everybody's got great businesses. Like, look, they've all got, great businesses going in, good income. And like, cool, it's really fun for me. So I think I definitely tend to spend time with people who are fairly, like the people that I really spend time with. They're open in that way. But I've noticed lately, I was telling you this before we started going, that I have never had such clear communication with God, the universe, whatever, whatever
Guidance,
resonates
yeah.
with you at. Like, I was telling you before, I put together this new offer. This came from a direct download when I just asked, hey, like, here's the person I want to be, and let's pretend I'm that person. Now what happened? And it came through clear as day. And the first step of this was just to look into storytelling and create a narrative. From there, an offer got put together that is done better than anything I've ever put out there. It's a whole thing that can scale. So I have found that lately I have never been more tuned in to some very direct source, and getting a lot of, like, I'm noticing more and more as I can be like, hey, is this a good idea? And if I like sit quietly and just ask, I'm getting direct answers.
Yeah.
And having that sort of trust that's like, all right, well, let's give this, like, I've tried the other way, let's give this a go.
Right.
Right? Like, it's like, it's one of those things where like, do I know? Maybe it's voices in my head. Like, I don't know, man, whatever. But it's what's coming through is really working, and it's panning out. So it's like, all right, let's try this way for now. So I've noticed that massively lately on a level it's like I jumped from level 6 to level 11. Like I've never experienced this much clarity.
Yeah. And that's absolutely what the record keepers have been saying. We've been on the kind of slow boat from 2012. So 10 years ago, we really started the whole ascension process, but the first 10 years was really slow. Well, let's say the first 8 years was really slow, and then actually COVID kicked it up because it gave us a chance to, many of us, to slow down, to quiet down, to meditate, do a little yoga, shift some of the ways that we were kind of keeping ourselves overly busy so we didn't hear our guidance from our whatever, whether it's your record keepers or your angels or your higher self. We all have all of those also. And so but again, it's very, very energetic alignment to where we are, really to the galactic center, to right some of these bigger kind of energies that are showing up. So the star seeds are kind of waking up to realize that they're star seeds, and so many people are just getting much clearer guidance than they ever did before. And so, of course, I love to teach people to access their Akashic records, because that's like the expansive information energy of everything, right? Of you, of your soul and its journey throughout all time space continuum. And so, very helpful to have that kind of guidance around your soul's plan, what you were thinking when you came here, why you picked these families or these skills or these challenges or these illnesses or these relationships. All of that stuff is, all written about. But as we even start to then layer on, as a star seed, I have come to help like a lot of the Syrians. So the dog star Sirius, I'm very Syrian myself. So I find that a lot of my students are also Syrian, and that connects to the whales and the dolphins, because you have Sirius A and Sirius B and Sirius C. And the Egyptian gods and goddesses came from Sirius. We believe that a lot of
sorry. Oh, fun. Sorry. I'm just
you just realized something.
Yeah, no, I'm getting so curious. So people who are Syrian, they tend to be very attracted to water.
A lot of water, right? That's part of my here. I'm not wearing blue, probably the first time. And if you go look at all my Facebook, all my Facebook and all my YouTube posts
Blue.
and everything, I'm always wearing blue.
We are sponsored by the color blue. Please check them out. It's, use code 555. No, I'm kidding. But that's so fascinating, because like I swear I am better under, and I know people like this, where I'm better underwater than on land. Like you're safer diving next to me than walking next to me. Walking next to me, I will bump into you, even if I'm sober. Bad spatial awareness. Like I just,
right.
I just don't really have that. But that's so interesting, because since I can remember as a kid going to the aquarium, always being really attracted to whales and dolphins and seeing the fish and whatnot. And I know people like that, where it's like, do you have that? Like, you're crazy natural underwater. Like, it's like you live there. And people are like, yeah. And I'm like, I know. Like, it's weird.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Very
like
Syrian.
spend time on Syria.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the first time I went scuba diving, I was in my 30s, and I went to Cozumel, and Cozumel was actually known for these flying buttresses, which are these huge, boy, I don't even know how you describe it. I mean, they're like landmarks underwater, and they're beautiful, and there's drift diving, and you drift along, and there's all these kind of open tunnels. So it's a tunnel, but it's open at the top, so it's not scary and claustrophobic. Anyway, it was phenomenal. But I remember going underwater, drifting along, looking at all these huge fish, all these different fish, and I was just laughing, which is really a funny thing to do, to laugh with the regulator in your mouth, right? And all the bubbles and everything. But that moment was probably the most joyful moment almost in my life, where I was like, I'm home.
Exact same experience scuba diving. Exact same experience. The first time I went scuba diving in the ocean, because they put you through the pool and the training first and whatnot.
Right.
But in the ocean, I was like, it was like a meditation in paradise. Yeah. I don't think I've ever been so happy, where it was just this thing of being like, and even so, I was dating this guy at the time. He lived in Australia. I lived in Australia with him. And I was in Bali, and he worked a job where he had 10 days on, worked 20 days on, 10 days off, right? So he's coming to meet me on his time off. And I was like, okay, awesome. I got my open water. We can go diving. He was Australian. He, lives in the ocean, already has open water.
Right.
He's like, all right, cool. So he comes and meets me in Bali. And he's like, babe, are you like, look, I've like walked with you. Like, are you sure you're like comfortable underwater? Like, just trying to be a nice guy, but like, I don't want to die next to you type thing. And I'm like, no, look, it's weird. I'm like, it's weird. I'm really, really good. Like, you'll see. And we went diving. He'd been diving way longer than me. He was like, holy shit. Like, you're really good. Like, you can like, oh my God. I was like, I know, like, it's just like the most natural thing. Yeah. And I think do you find that you're not as good above land? I don't like elevation. I don't like climbing mountains. I don't like snowboarding. I don't like skiing. I don't like elevation.
Yeah. I'm okay with elevation, which is weird also, but I, a lot of that stuff, I don't like cold, right? No, just put me in the water. I'm good. Right? Like all my pictures of Eleuthera, all this, and I believe there's water worlds. I haven't found the name yet, but that's, some of the processes of, once you can acknowledge, like, you're a star seed and you have lived in all these worlds, right? So Sirius A and B with the dolphins and the whales, I have a memory of coming to Earth as a whale back when the Earth was frozen.
Huh.
Right. And
how do you uncover these memories? Like, for everybody, we got like 12 people watching. I'm sure we'll get replays, right? Oh, hi, Debbie. Yeah. Debbie Hill said, McFarland says hi from Canada. Hi, Debbie. That was a late reply. Oh, you posted 11 minutes ago. We're good. But where do these memories, do these just download for you? And
so that is, again, one of the great gifts of accessing your Akashic records, because your Akashic record is the library of your soul's journey through all time, space continuum, these lives on this planet and many on other planets. So I can remember, or I go into the records, I'm accessing my Akashic library and saying, I don't know how the whale one showed up. It was kind of a funny one. Because sometimes they'll randomly pop in, like from a question I would ask my record keepers. And then, sometimes I'll ask unusual questions, like, when was the first time I came to Earth? And I get this whale thing. I'm like, really? And that was a long, long time ago, like before I ever got information, I think, about Sirius and the whales and the dolphins. And I was like, where'd the whales come from? How did all that happen? And that's literally how I've learned all that I've learned, right? Is by accessing my records and records of clients through all these years, where you get lots of information about all of these things. And the other one, I don't know if you had this reaction, the movie Avatar,
love that movie.
Right. I remember the second time, I loved it the first time. The second time I saw it, I started crying at the opening scene. I was so like, oh my God, home. I've had a lot of homes because way, way old, very ancient, right? So many lifetimes, so many planets. But I'm very excited. The next one is Avatar in the water world. So I'm like, whoa. Oh, yay.
That'll be really cool.
That'll be very, very fun. But so we have like Syrian lives, ancient Egyptian gods and goddesses. I spent a lot of lifetimes in ancient Egypt, often in these kind of temples. So connecting and going to Egypt was very profound. So the Syrians, the Arcturians, I have an access prayer, right? Again, called Galactic Traveler. Because of course, that's what the record keepers had said I was. And then I got that big Star Trek spaceship kind of traveling around the universes and seeing those kind of worlds, right? And then, and there's an angel access prayer, right? Because there's a lot of earth angels on the planet right now. Beautiful souls who have been guardian angels, and also many souls who have been more original type seraphim and Elohim type angels that have really been around forever.
Mm.
So, again, I always say we really all originated somewhere else. Nobody originated on Earth. You would not come to this crazy world first off. I mean, you just don't do that because
Yeah.
we come here to learn and to grow as a soul. And so you have to have other experience almost before you go. It's kind of like going to, high school or something, which can be, of course, very challenging. But you
Mm.
have to have gone to elementary school, other places first, where you got to make friends and have fun and create stuff and do a lot of painting and, make things. And before you go, okay, I'm ready to learn more. And so we literally come to Earth to learn more. And that is kind of the profound piece about being human. So, of
What do
course,
you what do you
yeah.
what do you think the main and there might be multiple, but what do you think the main lessons are that we come to Earth to really immerse in, master, discover?
Oh,
Have you noticed any
yeah.
trends?
Um, yeah, I think in these human realms, our common trends are definitely around relationship is a huge one. Probably one of the biggest ones is the way I hear it,
Mm.
because it's about learning to move out of judgment, which
Mm.
is a huge human trait, to move out of victimhood,
Mm.
to move out of blame and shame and guilt, all the lower vibrational energies. And most of these challenges are kind of either about relationship with someone or are connected into relationships, right? So we come really to kind of have these phenomenal experiences in a body, because you don't get emotions and food and sex and all of the kind of yummy tactile stuff that we have here in these bodies. We don't have those in more etheric realms, right? So
Mm.
we come here for that, but along with that we also get the other stuff like health issues, illnesses, physical challenges, all of the physical aspects. But again, I really get from the record keepers that a lot of that is connected um, to our emotions and our suppressed emotions and our trauma and challenges, emotional pain, that gets stuffed and stuck in the body, and that literally will go on and trigger a lot of dis-ease in the body, right? Because stuck emotions in the body doesn't know what to do with this. So now it's like, oh well, I'm trying to cover it up to get rid of it, and covering it up is creating inflammation in the body, or some kind of disease, or maybe some kind of cancer that's trying to get rid of it. So our bodies are actively trying to do good by us, and it doesn't always work out that way because they're stuck emotions. So but again, I would venture to say that outside of health, really that relationship, that love, that moving into a space of non-judgment, of compassion and caring, kindness, love, right, forgiveness, are all the foundation of awakening.
Well, why do you think we're so damn scared of our emotions? Like anytime we're like, for example, like somebody might not be so showing up on social media right now because they're nervous about embarrassing themselves or looking silly or not knowing, they're basically playing to like, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. And we all do this, right? I don't want to feel rejected, so I'm not going to talk to that person. I don't want to feel like it all comes down to an emotion we're trying not to feel, right? And why do you think we're so damn scared of it? Like it's like legit what runs the world, right? Like,
Right, right,
who's willing to feel uncomfortable for the longest, and is it, aimed in the right direction, and etc.
right.
So where do you think we can make shifts to help us, like, not like, we don't need to love them, but like be cool with being in some of these new ones and some of these uncomfortable ones and all of that?
Right, right. That's a very good question. Um, so the way I see that, the way the record keepers talk about it really is that um, of all of our emotions,
Hmm.
and there's a lot, if we look at a scale of emotions, it's the lower vibrational emotions that we're all trying to get away from, to ignore, to stuff, so all of that, the lowest energies are the shame, blame, guilt energies. Those are literally 20 on a scale of 0 to 1,000. 30, right? This is not, these are very, very dense, painful emotions. And so even as we go up to anger, anger is like 100 or something. That's way better than shame. All of these as we kind of, but the humanity has literally been stuck in these lower vibrations below 200. And that energy is really traumatic and painful emotions, right? So no one wants to be in that vibration. And what I would say is that a lot of us, when we embody, and especially if you embody in a family that maybe has a lot of kind of emotion, over emotional, a lot of that kind of energy of trauma and drama, right? A lot of that kind of discussions going on. If you could never have a calm discussion, if it was always, drama or yelling or just kind of nasty energy. Who wants to live in that? Who wants to embody in that? And so I think it's important that we realize when we can raise our vibration, it's an interesting key, because I'll often talk about how the Akashic Records can help you raise your vibration. But often people will say, like, what does that even mean? It's a little bit of a nondescript thing of raising your, but why do I want to raise my vibration? Because you're actually moving out of the lower vibrational emotions, and you're moving into neutrality. Just above 200 is neutrality. We can move into spaces of just kind of happiness and like fun, and eventually up into something like joy. Love is 500. So if your lower vibrational emotions are under 200, that's all the garbage. That's just all the crap that feels so nasty. The anger, the jealousy, the blame, the guilt, all of that low vibrational energy. So when you get up to, literally, I think boredom is right around 200. So it's kind of funny, but I always think if you're just bored and you're kind of over the lower crap and you're just
I
in
noticed
boredom, not so
bored
bad.
can be a really good tipping point. When you're just kind of neutral and bored, it can be a really good tipping point where good stuff can come from that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
again, as we can stop judging things,
Mhm.
right? Always very important to move out of judgment, because, again, just another low vibration. So we can start to move ourselves into the energy of neutrality. If we can just be neutral and be like, okay, I see that. I don't have to have an opinion. I don't have to judge it. I don't actually have to do anything with it. If someone else's opinion of you, you can just be, okay, that's your opinion. I'm good.
Yeah.
And off I go, right? So as we can start to move into those kind of spaces, it's literally so much easier for us to kind of move up to a place of love and joy, and literally eventually on up into awakening,
Mhm.
which is, the process. But literally we have to first move out of the energy of the lower vibrational, energies of trauma. And so, these are the things I actually do exercises with my students around clearing lower vibrational energies, and sometimes even, even overwhelm or disappointment or worry are in that under 200 range.
Hmm.
So, even when we go into worry, and of course, fear is way down there also towards the bottom, fear and grief and despair, things like that, jealousy, they're pretty low energy vibrations. So as we can move up even into frustration, willingness, acceptance, right? Once we've hit willingness, acceptance, hopefulness, that's a good one. Even boredom, okay, not all the time, but love, appreciation, enthusiasm, that's a biggie, right? These are all up in the 300, 400, 500. Love is about 500. Joy is, I think, 600. Actually, 700 to 1,000 is enlightenment, which I
Mm.
always love, is because it's not a destination. Even being awakened, waking up, being enlightened is 700 to 1,000. So there are, again, levels of enlightenment. You start out and you're kind of awake, but not totally and not always, right? And so even that is a process. So it's really important that we start to realize we are all ancient. You are all star seeds, truly.
Mhm.
Most of you have lived on multiple planets, places, or dimensions, right? And so as we want to access more of our higher guidance, our own guidance, moving out of the lower energetic vibrations into a place of enthusiasm, hopefulness, joy, love, all of these beautiful energies are also important on our process into awakening. That's really what we're doing as we are ascending. The emotions will raise as you ascend, as you clear and start to heal and release the old low vibrational energies. You are ascending, and we are all going to do it. So it can be easier or it can be harder, right? To me, learning to access your own Akashic records makes it much, much easier, because you have your soul guidance every step of the way to support you.
So I am going to put the website one more time in the comments for everybody that's watching live. Go check out there's the free Rainbow Shield meditation. There is the book from Lisa. There was also another link with the Questioning to Knowing book, the Infinite Wisdom book, the free Rainbow Shield meditation, and then her site. So go check this out. I highly recommend. Reach out to her. You can hit her up on Instagram, through email, on the site, wherever you want, really. But really, I totally recommend that everybody go check this stuff out. It's really cool. And I can tell you, having worked with her for a couple of years now, and this kind of work over time, and getting more and more familiar with the Akashic records and how you can access them, and it really pays off. Like, it's really cool. Is there anything we want to leave people with before we wrap up here?
Well, what I was just doing is, if people are interested in learning how to access their own Akashic records,
Yeah.
this is my home study course. So I'm just going to pop that into the chat. Also, if people are interested, because it is a very profound and really simple tool. So I know that it is helping people every day to awaken, to heal their pain and their trauma, and to start to move forward. So really wish from the Akashic Record Keepers is for each and every one of us in human body to realize that we truly are ancient, wise, divine beings of light. And it is now really our time to step into that energy, to awaken, and to ascend with ease and grace. And so I am grateful to have spent this time with everyone, and I look forward to seeing you again pretty soon.
We are grateful to you. We'll see you guys actually next week, right? Next week, Tuesday, we're doing this again.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. To be continued.
Oh, love it.